Hi everyone, in this video I want to show you one of the most important, if not the most important features of the Corbado Connect Management Console, and it's the funnel analysis, which you can find under the analytics section here on the left hand side. The funnel analysis is basically a visual representation of all the signaling and telemetry data that we get from our client-side SDKs, and it's usually the starting point for any error debugging and proactive analysis if there is something which we suspect to be off. For instance, completion rates are dropping or we see a higher abort rate. On the top, we have the first filters. There's 3 different views for logins, for post-login appends, and also additional appends. We can look at specific time windows. We can filter by the different apps and platforms and also by operating systems. Then we see core KPIs. For the appends, we see the gradual rollout number. So right now, all of them are included. We see how many were intelligently filtered and also see the append rates as one of the core metrics we at Corbado optimize for. Below, we see then a visual process path of the patterns that someone actually goes through, more into in a second, and can also see what the rates are. There's a small description for every node, and basically every screen that some of our users see in their login or append journey is like one node in here, and we can then detect if there's something off or if there's any bottleneck we should investigate or any alarming numbers. Let's have a quick look into what's possible. For logins, there's a similar evaluation, just the KPIs change here on the top, but on the bottom you would also see the process path and the different screens and KPIs that one can experience. And then also for the additional appends, we have a view. Additional appends are, for instance, occurring after an error. So this is our auto-healing feature. Then they might occur after a hybrid login. So we've been using QR code scanning and Bluetooth proximity check. And then we create a local passkey on the laptop or desktop. And also we can create passkeys or append passkeys within the passkey list, which usually is situated in the account settings. I have 3 core use cases that many large clients actually use this passkey funnel analysis for. And the first one is about the general passkey append and the general checking if your system works as expected. So when you start your passkey journey in the very first phase, you want to focus on the implementation. And after you've implemented everything, the core goal is actually to look if users can create passkeys. So they complete the login the conventional way. Usually then a sample of them is included in the gradual rollout. Then we would see, okay, hey, these are allowed to be in our sample group. And then the first thing is actually checking that Passkey Intelligence works and that many of them are offered to create a passkey. And then if we go up again, hopefully many of them also append a passkey. We would see how many actually do that after what append screen. And that's the very first metric that we usually check. Then when we move from the passkey implementation stage into the adoption stage, then we would be more interested into the final nodes. So what's kind of the outcome of the other nodes? Why might people be aborting it explicitly or implicitly? Is there something we need to work on? So that's a first use case to check basically if the system is working and if the adoption is how we expect it to be. Use case number 2 is then to look or to compare different platforms. So let's say we filter now for a web and iOS implementation, and we go now into the login view and click on generate. We would see the chart for the logins, and now we only consider web platform and iOS. And if we then go further down to the offer passkey logins, only the platforms, we would see that here 94% are offered a passkey and they completed successfully. So it's a pretty good number. We might also have like a different application on a native iOS app. And if we check this data as well, we can again compare the number and see, hey, this is even higher, so 97%, which is, I think, in a range that is acceptable. So there might be still some room for improvement for our web app. However, if there was a bigger difference between those 2 paths, that's usually an alarming signal that we need to look into our implementation, see if there's something odd or if we need to improve some of the other rates that we have here. For instance, 2.7% are aborting. Usually that's something we should actually analyze in more depth. How can we get that to 0 and how can we even further increase the completion rate? So that's use case number 2 of the funnel, how we can use it. Another use case is then also if we go back to our web login and let's say we focus on Windows to check how cross-device authentication works. So again, we can traverse through the login path, we go through our process, and then we see here's a note about cross-device CDA authentication being offered. And now we check the data here as well. So we see that only 42% are completing the cross-device authentication, so less than 50%. However, there's 21% who skip after an error and 36% skip entirely. So that usually means we might need to improve our copy, need to tell the user, hey, this is how cross-device authentication works. But 20% error rate, it's quite high. So another indicator that we should look really into our implementation, see how we can decrease that number and get more users to successfully use cross-device authentication. These are just 3 examples. In general, there's numerous other ways how you can use that in a kind of process mining way to optimize your logins, to see where users are stuck, where bottlenecks are, and how you can proactively fix that so that other users who might also face these issues in the future can actually have a better experience because you have fixed those issues beforehand, and ultimately you increase user satisfaction, you can increase the error rates, and then also get to a higher Passkey adoption with the funnel analysis of the Corbado Connect Management Console.